Hello, everybody. Welcome to Shooting the Shelf Wednesday one shots. Did I say that right? I said that right.
I don't think so. I think it's supposed to be Wednesday win shot.
Okay. Well, all right. Yeah. Okay. It's the Wednesday one shot
Yeah.
this week. This Wednesday is March 20 something, and we're leading up to Easter this coming Sunday.
hmm
So Curtis and I have been talking about this show for a while. Curtis has been talking it for longer, but I finally got to get caught up on it. This week we are talking about The Chosen.
Yeah. And they've got currently 3 seasons out. The fourth season, they've been showing in theaters, like in segments. I think it's like 3 or 4 episodes at a time in theaters. So that should be streaming, I would say, sometime later this year. But right now, there's 3 seasons that are streaming that are out there. So it's one that I started watching. Obviously, it is a series that is um, follows around basically the life of Jesus, and there is quite a bit that's pulled from stories within the Bible, but there's also parts of it that are just like, I don't know, Jesus and his followers being just like normal people. Like there's parts of it that really don't come directly from the Bible, but it's kind of humanizing them in a way that I haven't seen before. Um, so that's kind of I guess the summary of the show so far. Um, and we just kind of wanted to talk. These Wednesday one shots are things that we enjoy. This is one of those series. I know, quite a while back we did a review with the Euro Legions guys on Ted Lasso, and I said that was a series that just watching it, I felt good watching it. It was like one of those series that when I got done, like with each episode, I would just kind of feel like, I don't know, you just feel uplifted and just feel better.
Mhm.
And this is one of those series kind of like that for me, that when I watch these episodes, it just makes me feel good. Um, there's a lot of things out there that, whether it's like cop dramas or things like that have real life stuff or action and gunfire and all this kind of stuff. It's good to just every now and then have a show that just makes you feel good, and this is one of those for me. So
Yeah, it's a show. I remember my mom talking about this years ago. And one of my buddies, Mike, who lives in Tennessee, I think. No, I think he lives in Michigan now. Anyway, they'd both been talking about it, and they told me there was like an app you could watch it, and I just never got around to doing it because at the time I only had my iPhone. I didn't want to watch like something like that on my phone.
mhm.
And then Curtis brought it up, and I think it had just recently come to like Netflix and Amazon recently,
Mhm.
or in the past
Yeah,
couple months,
so
last
the
year or
app
so.
is the Angel Studios app. I think it's just called the Angel app, where you can watch it for free, even if you don't have to pay for the streaming service or anything. And then I think on Netflix, I think they've got the first 2 seasons, and Amazon has got all 3 seasons. So if you've got those
Okay.
services, you can watch that many. So yeah, it's in a bunch of different locations. So yeah.
And yeah, so it was just really nice to get it. Like I'll be honest, this is a show, or like as a kid growing up in the church, and seeing so many movies that they had done, they were always so, because you're trying to tell the whole story in like a two
Mhm.
hour span, and it just they obviously go heavy on the week of the passion and the crucifixion and all that stuff is
Mhm.
usually a big part of it, and I'm sure it will be for this show too when it gets to that point. But like you said, it's really spending time with them, seeing how they, like, letting us see them as people and not just like icons or characters from a story. Like they've fleshed out some extra stuff. I know one character you've particularly said, well, you really like the portrayal of Matthew
Mhm.
in this show, and I agree. But I won't dip into that yet. But it's good. At first, the first couple episodes, I was like, "Where is this going?" Like, I was like, it felt very outside of what I was used to, but I liked the setup.
Yep.
Like, it really got me. Um, and it just, I think it's really good performances. I was shocked to learn that it's filmed mostly in Texas.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, I didn't even know
and
that.
but it's yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I think they're doing a good. Every now and then, some of the dialogue feels a little loose. I don't expect them to
Mm.
be like these thous, like King James
Right.
version
Yeah.
dialect or anything. But it's uh, and that's just being nitpicky about it. But I think they're
And
doing
obviously they're speaking English, they're not
right,
like, yeah.
right.
So,
They're not speaking like
right.
Aramaic or anything like that,
Right.
and but it's really good. I think for I don't know what the budget is, but this isn't like a huge Hollywood production, where they're throwing, full studio weight behind it.
Well, that's a good point because it's actually all done by donations from fans. So like everything that they do for all the seasons has been based on donations. So like that Angel app and stuff, it's free to download. There's no cost to it. But if you choose to make a donation, you can, and then that money gets put towards the production. So it is, my understanding is fully been funded by fans, which is really cool. And I just, for me, it's it's one thing to just get the stories from the Bible and get it crammed in, like Jesse's saying, in like a 2 hour period. But to see it fleshed out and see these characters, like the story arcs of these different characters and stuff, has just been a lot of fun. And you get to see these characters in situations that you wouldn't normally think of. Like there's kind of, spoiler alert, it's not really spoilery, but like there's one or two episodes where Jesus is hanging around a bunch of children and kind of talking to them about what it means to love one another and be nice to one another and things. And there's one episode where he's hanging around some guys that he knew from his childhood that he grew up with, and they're like playing like a little handball game where they're like tossing this ball around and stuff. And it really humanizes these characters in a way that I've not seen done before, and it's really neat. I like it quite a bit.
Yeah, that the whole scene where he or episode where he goes back to his hometown, like if you've read the New Testament, those stories, like where that's going to end up. So
Hmm.
getting to see those moments where it's like, oh, he's back in his hometown. Okay, like we all know what that means, but like seeing it
Hmm.
played out, like I'd never experienced that side of the story. It was just the upset side when people get when they're like, are you the Messiah? And he's like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and
Well,
it's like some of these stories, like the wedding and stuff with the water to wine, which is obviously that part of it, but see it play out in the interactions between like the groom's parents and the bride and groom themselves and everybody that's involved, to see the interactions of all the folks. It was just really cool. So I know you had mentioned Matthew, which is, I mean, absolutely my favorite performance, um, because I mean they don't state it in the show, but the way that the actor plays Matthew, it's as if he has like autism, would be my guess, is the way that he's playing the character, which I mean, based on his job as a tax collector and a money guy and a numbers guy, it kind of makes sense the way that he portrays that character, and I
mhm.
just love the performance. It really it's really well done. My son has autism, and so to see some of that interjected into this and see that kind of representation, I thought was really cool, as a parent of somebody that has autism. And then there's like, this one is a spoiler alert, so but the moment where Jesus is walking by his booth with all of the other folks that he's got with him, and then he turns around and sees Matthew, and he just tells him to come with him. And Matthew's like me, and he's like, yes, like come with me. And he just drops everything. Like, this guy has got a good life. He makes good money, like compared to the rest of the Jews there, like he is very well off, and he is set up with a very nice house and fortune and all this, and he leaves it all behind to follow him just because he asked him. He just said, "Follow me," and he's like, "Yes," and he just leaves. And just there's things like there's powerful moments like that I see it, and I'm like, man, that's like just to drop everything and just go, like that you hear that calling and you go, yes, I'm gonna turn away from everything that I have and know, and I'm going to go this path now because this feels like the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
just cool.
and I love that because they spend so much time setting Matthew up
Mm,
at that point and, introducing Jesus. You see him starting to gather the disciples. And like that's like a 2-sentence line
yep.
straight out of the Gospel of Matthew. If you don't mind, it's like as
Yeah.
Jesus went on from there, he saw a man named Matthew sitting at the tax collector's booth. Follow me, he told him, and Matthew got up and followed him. And it's clear cut, like
Yeah.
it's simple. And that's exactly how they played it. But because they spent that time setting him up, and you get to
Mm-hmm.
see as the tax collector, which people reading this at the time, when these were written down, people would have understood a lot of the social context of these things that we as Americans, especially so much later,
Mm-hmm.
we have to be educated on some of these things. And I just think that's yeah, that scene was just really powerful, and just the way they play him and how his character progression through the series, when he gets his shirt dirty for the first time, and then he's
Yeah.
just kind of like,
And he was just going to leave his shoes because he stepped in something, and he's just like just going to leave them and grab another set of shoes, like
yeah,
and
yeah,
and like the other guy's like, that's like, I forget what he said, like it's a month's worth of money, income for somebody, and he's just going to leave them behind because they got dirty.
yeah.
Um, and yeah, you're right, because they build up that character where it's like, not only is he taking this job as a tax collector, but he's basically turned his back on everything that his society knows, like his culture.
Hmm.
His parents have disowned him. He doesn't follow the religious ways and stuff. He's turned his back on all of that stuff, and has really just made himself a man of business and numbers. And yet, through the things that he sees from Jesus, from other things that happen throughout the season, and then when he says that, and he says to follow him, he's just like, "Yep," and he just leaves and
I'm
goes, and it's just so great.
I'm wondering if we'll see any sort of correlation, because they do some nice things where the way they cut over some of the dialogue,
Mm,
it's very you know the symbolism, the imagery that's going on. I wonder if we'll see anything like that when Jesus, the rich man comes and asks Jesus, like, how do we get into the kingdom of heaven? He's like, give up
mm,
everything you own and come and follow me.
yep.
Is direct. I mean, is he gonna like look at Matthew and just be like, because you did this, or
Mm,
like, is there gonna be something like that? But yeah, it's what we've got 3 seasons, like you said. Season 4
mm,
just came out. I just saw online that this Thursday, the first three
mm.
episodes are supposed to be available streaming somewhere.
Oh,
I didn't
cool.
see where. And then I don't know how the rest of it's going to be released, but yeah, it's a great cast, and the way they tie all these different, because they have Matthew is connected with oh, what's his name? The is it Gaius, the soldier, the centurion, the Roman soldier,
Yeah,
because he's like his guard,
yep.
and just the way they're tying him in, and that they've kind of set up now. Spoiler, that he's the one, that Jesus heals the sick child for later.
Mm,
They haven't gotten to that yet, but they're setting that up, and
right.
I
Yeah,
just
and
think
there's
it's
another, spoiler. I'm not going to throw up the thing again, but another spoiler one that I really wanted to talk about too is, um, there's the one episode where Jesus is healing all these people, and
mm,
these people are coming from far and wide, and he's just like spends the whole day with all these people with ailments coming up to him, and the rest of the disciples and stuff are like managing the line, and keeping order and all this kind of stuff, and they're taking turns, and when they're not doing that, they're going and sitting by the campfire and all this kind of stuff, and they start bickering about just stuff that doesn't matter, like
mm,
we humans do. Like we just, we bicker about things that don't matter, and they're like getting into a very heated argument, and then all of a sudden, Jesus starts walking to his tent, and you can see he's just drained, like just exhausted from doing this work all day long. And he just says goodnight to them as they're like in the middle of arguing stuff. He walks by, says goodnight, and goes to his tent. And then, you know, his mother goes and washes his feet, and he goes into the tent, and they all just, nobody says anything, but you can tell there's this realization, like, what are we doing? Like, why are we arguing about stuff that doesn't matter and people that we used to be? You know, yeah. So
Yeah.
it's just strong messages like that really hit home for me. So,
And I like they do several things like that where they play things out that very possibly could have happened, you know,
mhm.
in the time period, but they definitely relate very well to modern believers, I
Yeah.
think. Like there's the whole scene where Mary and is it Tamar,
Mhm.
the Ethiopian woman, like they kind of get into this whole thing about like how they felt about each other.
Yep.
And I very easily could have seen that happening between two women at a church, you know, that had different opinions about, you know, status and different things, and just the way they play those things out. I think it's really good. So it's giving, I think, a good representation of the scriptural story, but like we said from the beginning, you know, making it more not relatable, but like allowing us into like the richness of the reality of the people, you know,
Yeah.
and not
And
just
it
the
well, and it hits feelings that we as people just have. Like another one, and I'm not going to go into the story because this one I feel is too spoilery, but I'll just kind of say that one of the folks that's following Jesus gets mad at him. He's mad because something happens in his life that he feels like, as a follower of his, should bad things shouldn't have happened to him because he's following Jesus. He's doing what he's supposed to do. Why would bad things happen to him and his family? It doesn't make sense. And he gets angry. And that's a very human feeling. It's a very human reaction. And just seeing how that plays out, it's those things, I don't know. Like I said, they're just very powerful, and they stick with me. And I've watched this the 3 seasons that are out. I've watched it 2 times all the way through, and then a third time partially so far. Because it's just one of those that, like I said, when I watch it, I feel good, and I feel like it makes me want to be a better person. So I would say, whether you're, and we talked to somebody we were at a convention this week, and we talked to a gentleman that really isn't religious, doesn't this isn't his thing, I guess. But he was watching the series because his wife asked him to watch it, and thought that he would enjoy it. And he said he was really enjoying the characters and the story building. And I think it's a series that it's not just for Christians. It's not just for, followers of Jesus. I think it's a good series regardless, that everybody should watch. And that's why we wanted to do a Wednesday one shot here for it.
Yeah. And I want to throw out one more comment.
Sure.
The Eric Avari, who plays Nicodemus,
Mm-hmm. Oh,
um,
gosh.
that is some of the. I mean, he's probably the only like named actor I knew going into this. Some of these other
Mm-hmm.
people I've looked up and seen that they've been in other things I've seen, but he was the only one like I recognized right out of the
Mm-hmm.
gate, and just his portrayal of that story and the way they just let you focus on that moment, that conversation he and Jesus have in that
Mm-hmm.
season.
And the
I think
struggle
is
that he's dealing with. Yeah.
yeah, and then you see some things that play out later that it's really good. I hope we get to see that, and the way they're doing the whole Pharisee storyline, I think is
Mm-hmm.
really. We could probably talk about this for a lot more than we've already gone over our normal time limit for this, but I think it's a very special show, and like you said, it's not just for people who do believe or are of the Christian faith. I think anybody could watch this and find entertainment, in just the production value and the
Mm-hmm.
acting. I think it's really good, and uh, you know, definitely worth giving a check, especially coming this time of year. Um, a lot of people are looking for stuff like this to watch. So if you have not watched it, definitely check out The Chosen.
Yep. I think that's it for us. So thank you for
That's it.
watching this Wednesday one shot.
Yes. And yeah. Do we have a tag for this yet?
I don't think so.
Okay.
We'll see you
Bye.
later. Yeah, bye.